Good evening, my viewers. This is Dr. Kundu, a metaphysicist in this country. Last week, we were talking about the nature of God. And you remember I left at where the furniture in the house comes from. God created trees and put all the furniture in trees. And he created man and put divine intelligence into man, that when he wants furniture, he will always go to the tree and extract the furniture. So we continue from there. God did not have to create any machinery, no vehicles, no bicycles, nothing. What he did was to put all the vehicles in the mountains, down into the earth, in that something they call iron or metal, and put in man's head the intelligence to know that if I can mine that kind of metal, would it be copper, would it be iron, then I can go ahead and modify that using this intelligence to come up with the things I need for use. Things like motor vehicles, things like motorbikes, and so on. He did that. God, as I said, doesn't create like the way we say he creates. God speaks, let there be, and it is. If that's the interpretation you want to call creating, it's fine. But creating would be to bring into existence what didn't exist. But when you are making a car, it already existed. I'll go back to the electrical energy, which I referred to last week, that when it is in the radio, it manifests as sound. When it is in the TV, it manifests as pictures and light. When it is in a fridge, it manifests as really cold. And when it is in a heater, it manifests as really heat. So, God is that essence. God doesn't have the hands to create. God is an energy, a superconscious energy. And just like we are using the energy of sound to speak, and this energy of sound is a God essence. God has a more powerful energy of sound than man has. So, the kinetic energy, the motion, God moves faster than man can move, but man has the same attributes of God. When man created Adam and Eve, he did one very interesting thing, and maybe you people don't realize. God said that since I am more powerful, I don't have to keep creating a human being every other minute. So he just created Adam, where he said, let there be man. Of course, the scriptures say that he used soil to create man. Be it so. But after he has created man, what he did was to put all people in the universe in that just one man, Adam and Eve. And Eve was created for no other purpose but to be just a helper of Adam. And what help was this to be? And my answer is the help of procreation. So he put all the people he wanted to create in only those two. And therefore, creation continues and continues and continues in circles we call great grandchildren and so on. And not even one day do you see God putting up another third person. Because that's not the nature of God. The nature of God is to do one thing and put his divine intelligence into that thing to continue doing what he did. And you will realize that all animals are doing the same, because that divine intelligence was put in all of them. All insects are doing the same, because that divine intelligence was put into them. And interestingly, stones also do the same. And some people may not believe that. There are two types of life. In metaphysics, we have animate life and inanimate life. Those two lives, the animate life is that life that we have what we call the ordinary consciousness, like the life of an animal or the life of man. That when I prick you, then you feel pain. That when I call you, then you hear and respond. That kind of life in metaphysics is called animate life. And the second type of life is called inanimate life. The inanimate life is a life that exists in things like stones. Stones grow. You could find a small stone, and years later, that stone has grown to a bigger size than what it was. And yet there is no trace of life in it. So the metaphysicists know that life or existence is vibratory in nature, that everything vibrates, and it is the vibratory rate of a given thing that makes it different from the other one. For example, the octaves on which the vibrations of an orange vibrate are different from the octave of which the vibrations of a lemon vibrate, although the biologists would put the orange and the lemon in one group called the citrus group, but they are completely different in their vibratory rates. The vibrations that are going through man are of a different octave and a different rate of vibration from the vibrations that go through this animal we call a baboon. A baboon looks very close to a man, but their difference is just a difference of the vibrator rates that we have them. They vibrate in different octaves. If you ask the physicist, he might explain better the range of the octaves. And reason why I did not do chemistry is this thing they call the periodic tables of elements. That threw me out of chemistry. And this is because at that time when I was going through school, there were 144 different elements. They could have discovered more. I'm not sure. If you are a chemist who has understood that, maybe you can call me later and tell me if you have discovered some. But the point I'm making is that each and every element vibrates on a different octave from the other. And that is what causes the manifestations we see in the universe. That this thing is different from this. This is mobile, this is static. This thing here has blood and this thing doesn't have blood. This thing is conscious and this thing is not conscious. But in metaphysics, we know that there is a universal consciousness, that everything, whether it is a camera, it is conscious of you. That everything, whether it is a stone, as soon as you step on it, it is already conscious of you standing on it. That is the universal consciousness. Experiments were done by one scientist who took the shrimps of frogs, small frogs, and went into the kitchen and boiled some cooking oil to a boiling temperature. And nearby, there was a kitchen plant, which, as he put this small frog into the boiling oil, the plant shrunk. And then when he removed it, the plant went back to normal. And again he picked another small frog and dropped into the boiling oil. And then the plant shrunk. You know, that tells you that it was feeling for the frog, that the plant knew that hot oil would inflict a lot of pain and even death to the live frog. And so it was reacting to that as if it was the one being put into the boiling oil. So that is what we call the universal consciousness. This universal consciousness is what goes on through the entire universe, such that in something they call telepathy, you can feel that something wrong has gone on your relatives distant kilometers away from you at the exact time and on the exact day when that thing has happened. You just find that no, there must be something wrong. Is Josephine okay? I haven't seen Josephine in many months, but is he okay where he is? And later on, you'll be told, Josephine probably had an accident on this day at this hour. And then you realize that I felt exactly that there was something wrong with her on that particular day at that particular time. It is universal consciousness, which is translated into what we call telepathy. By telepathic vibrations, you connect with that person instantaneously, and distance and time are immaterial in the universal vibrations. In the span of things of the universe, space and time are only relative terms. And that's why you can sit here in this studio and immediately think of somebody in the United States. It doesn't take time. And you can see that twin tower that was blown by some terrorists in New York. It was years back, it was in the 90s. But you can still see that picture alive today. That means that time is a relative term. That everything is, and nothing disappears. So that is what metaphysics is telling us. And metaphysics is a powerful, powerful subject. Once you understand metaphysics, and this is how you can apply it. Metaphysics has rhythms and cycles with so many different names. Some of them are called the solar cycles, some of them are called the lunar cycles, some of them are called the soul cycles, and so on. And they have their periodicities. These cycles begin on a certain date of a certain month in a certain hour, and they end on a certain date of a certain month in a certain hour. And these cycles are vibratory in nature. They influence and control man's activities. If you have ever sat down and looked at the existence of man, you must have wondered, why do some people buy vehicles and stay with them forever until the vehicle is old? And why do some people buy vehicles and 2 days later the vehicle has crashed and it has probably even killed this person? Look at the rhythms of transporters in this country. There is a certain bus which I'm not interested in mentioning here, but you will know the bus I'm talking about, which must cause an accident every year. They buy a new one, and every year it causes an accident. There is a fleet of buses in a special name. Why? Why is this causing an accident all the time? The answer is that the owners of the buses have no metaphysical knowledge, and therefore they still don't know, number one, when to initiate a rhythm of that bus that will vibrate in harmony with the rhythms of the passengers that are going to use the bus. Number two, they still don't know the vibrations of the name that is going to be put on this bus so that it harmonizes with other vibrations through which the bus is going to cross as it transverses the country from one end of the country to the other end. You remember I told you that the universe is in web form. There are so many wires that are connecting, an example of a spider's web. And if you don't know which line of the web you are going to take to reach the center, you will never reach the center. You cannot cross. So the transport owners need a lot of knowledge on metaphysics. And this has nothing to do with witchcraft, and I never practiced those stupid, useless, ridiculous things like witchcraft. But it is a proved, demonstrable sciences that the universe is in rhythms, and these rhythms have their beginnings and their ending. Their beginnings and their endings. For example, have you wondered why families are breaking every single day just because the family does not have a son, and yet the man is looking for a boy in the family? And each time the wife gets pregnant, it's a girl. Each time the wife gets pregnant, it's a girl, until the man gets tired and says, "You go away. I'll have to marry another woman who is going to give me a son." Have you wondered that like that? Let me tell you as a metaphysicist today that you are blaming women for nothing. Women have no power to give you a son. In the womb of a woman, God has put X chromosomes. And in the semen of a man, God has put the X chromosomes and the Y chromosomes. So a woman gives what you, the man, gives. When an X chromosome of a woman meets an X chromosome of a man, the offspring is a girl, female. When a Y chromosome goes to meet the X chromosome of a woman, the offspring is a boy. So it is you, the man, to study the rhythms. When is man able to release the Y chromosomes so that it goes to meet the X chromosome that is permanently in a woman? And then you have a son. Instead of blaming this innocent woman, you don't have to do that. And this reproductive cycle is controlled by what we call the lunar cycle. The lunar cycle is controlled by this thing we call the moon. The moon controls all the fluids of the universe. And these fluids could be your blood, could be your saliva, could be your mucus, could be your semens. It is everything. And that is why it's popularly known in some quarters when a woman has her periods that she's in the moon. Where I come from, they say so. Because it is the moon that controls this cycle. So it's up to you to know, right from the time when the moon is at perigee up to the time when the moon is at apogee. What are the circles? And I'll tell you that the moon oscillates in 3.5 hours, positive 3.5 hours, negative 3.5 hours, negative 3.5 hours, positive, until it goes away. From the time it is young, as we say, up to the time it is full moon, up to the time it goes away again, this rhythm goes on. 3.5 hours positive, 3.5 hours negative. And at full moon, it is positive. And now, it's only in the positive period of the lunar cycle that the Y chromosomes can leave the body of a man into a woman. And so it's up to you not to blame your wife. It's up to you to find out how you can get a chart or an almanac that will tell you when the moon is positive, when the moon is negative, which 3.5 hours are going to be positive and which 3.5 hours are going to be negative. And it is going to oscillate like that. If I missed it on first, when is it next so that I can time it? Is it going to be on the 6th? If I miss it on 6th, when can I time it? Is it going to be on 10th? These kind of charts are available, but you must get an expert metaphysicist to draw you such charts. It has nothing to do with witchcraft. Don't waste your time going to do guesswork here and there. You're going to be told things that will make disharmony in homes. Or you see this brother of yours on the left of your home as you enter is the one that has bewitched you. That is why you are not getting a son. That's ridiculous nonsense. Get down to demonstrable sciences that will work for you all the time. So that is one reason why metaphysics is a powerful tool in the life of man. And it's controlled by the universe itself. So if you work in harmony with the universe, then your things go right. If you work contra to the rhythms of the universe, then your things go wrong. Let's look at a rhythm like a political rhythm. You want to start a political career. Do you just wake up one morning and say, I am standing? You will be contravening the rhythms of the universe. You must be able to know that when does a political rhythm start, so you can capitalize on that. It all goes with your life cycle. And your life cycle is controlled by the solar cycle, which is 365 days. And it goes in periodicities of 52 and a third days. 52 and a third days, 52 and a third days. And there are 7 periods in there. Then you must know what you should do in the first period of your solar cycle or your life cycle. You must know what you do in the second, in the third, and in the fourth. Also, that same one will control the professions that you can do. You could be entering into politics, and your profession has nothing to do with politics at all. Therefore, you will keep struggling and standing and failing and standing and failing and wasting your family's resources instead of putting them somewhere where they can work harmoniously. All these things we are going to go through one by one over time in this program. And this is a program you don't miss to watch because it is a very useful and popular program. And those people who are tuned to KBC television in the 90s, I presented that program in what we called Metaphysics and Man. And it became so popular, and it helped a lot of politicians who had failed over and over again to harmonize their rhythm and get into politics. And I look at you directly and know that even in Bungoma, where Tandao is, there is a politician who is saying, yes, that metaphysicist helped me. And because we cannot give names of our clients on studio like this, don't ask me who it is, but he himself knows. So we will expound on these rhythms and these cycles in the next program as we come. Now, when you have any questions or you need any advice, you are free to contact me directly on my line 0721 901 429. 0721 901 429. Give me a call anytime. Ask the questions that are bothering you, and we shall be dealing with them as we go along, or we shall write up charts for you to keep referring to them and make your life a very successful life. Until next week, it is bye-bye from Dr. Kundu.